All right, our Stillwater viewers, I am so excited for you to be here today. And even though I said Stillwater, you might be looking at this video from Perkins, Oklahoma, and
Mhm.
that's okay. You're in the right area. This channel's all about living in, eating, drinking, moving to Perkins, Oklahoma real estate metro area. Today, we're getting visited with Dan, and he's going to go over the loan process so that you're the most informed borrower when it comes to getting your home loan when you're buying a home in Perkins, Oklahoma. He's going to go step by step through it and give you guys all the information so that you feel more comfortable with the process. The more informed you are, the easier the process is. Dan, thanks so much for coming by today. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me. And like, once again, go Pokes.
Always,
Gotta get my
always,
Pokes in
always.
there.
When it I got this off the computer, Dan, so you tell me if I'm right or wrong on it. Dan is the lender. He's the expert in the
Mhm.
room on this. Is the application the first step?
Absolutely. The first thing to do is get a good, complete application, and the key word is complete, and really dig in to see, um, everything that's going on, because there's more than credit. Credit just opens the doors. It depends really how good your application is whether you can get the loan or not.
Perfect. And would you say that there's some questions on there that people may not
Yeah.
know? Is that right? And is it a block where they put NA, or is it something they call you about?
Well, what we do is we send them our mobile app. It's the basic part, but the most important part is our handwritten app, where we ask them the really key questions that an underwriter and somebody that's going to make that loan decisions want to know. So if you don't know it, best thing to do is NA. But then when we fill it out, we pull the credit, we send them a list of documents, we set up an appointment. We really do a lot in the application review. And that's where we really get to know the client. What are your goals? When do you want to buy? How much you want to spend? What's your house payment? And that's the big one. What's the house payment you want? Let's focus on your payment. So,
That's awesome. So,
mhm,
like you just said, and I'm catching up to you. And guys, all these steps they kind of flow
yeah,
back and forward. They kind of run together. So, application, then you start reviewing the application, and then you said you do the consultation, and that's what you said when you fill out the paper form when you really get to know
mhm,
them and you talk about what's affordable. That way, they're not house broke. So, are those kind of one, two, threes back to back?
absolutely. And during that consultation, we listen. We listen to them. We listen to their time. We listen to the payment that they want. We listen to any concerns, and especially first-time homebuyers have a lot of different concerns. Um, and then we find out, is there anybody else involved in this? Is it a mom, dad? Is there a wife? Is there anybody else involved in it? And we target it as, what is your goals? Because most people don't understand a house is the biggest investment you're going to make. And if you're only going to be in the house for a few years, don't invest too much in it. Get in it as cheap as you can. And if you can, go shorter term loan. That way it'll be a bigger and better investment. So that consultation is where we just sit down and listen to the customer, and then we give them their options.
And I tell people all the time, you got to tell Dan everything.
Yeah.
If you two times over the last 17 years, 1,500 transactions, people, I'm not going to say they withheld pertinent information,
But
but they might have thought because it didn't show up on the credit report, it wouldn't matter down the line.
mhm,
Dan, you are giving them a large sum of money. You
yep.
have underwriters, processors, even the title company. They do, what is that? A background check or something? What
Yep.
what is it being called?
Yeah. The title company, they check your background to make sure there's no legal ramifications, or that you don't have any warrants. But I'll give you a really good example that just happened right before this call. I had a this will blow you away, and it was sad, but I had a client call me, referred to me by another real estate partner of mine, and she was like, "We're supposed to close this Friday, okay?" And we just got out of our underwriting; it was a turn down. So I just talked to the customer, and they have a $380 loan with a credit union, does not report on the credit bureau. And when they sent me their documents, not knowing what it was, and they're just talking to them about the bills, I said, your debt ratio is out of line because this $380 showed up on their bank statements as a repeat bill. And she goes, that's why they turned it down. You did it in 5 minutes and it took them 30 days. I said, it's because most lenders don't get the documents and spend time reviewing them. I said, ma'am, with that said, you only owe $2,300 on it, correct? She goes, yeah, pay it off. Or since it's an installment, you're under 10 payments, you can get that waived. And the real estate agent called me and said, do you mind calling the lender we're using? And I said, you know what? I do a lot of business with you, ma'am. I will call that lender that you decided to use. It's not me. Talk to that lender. Say, it's under 10 payments on that particular loan. You can request that to be waived. All you have to do is have a payment history of the last 12 months. And the lender goes, well, I didn't know that. So they're going to probably close now because I caught something with just talking to them and they sent me their documents. So that's why it's important that you get all your documents to your lender so we can catch these things.
And that's an amazing story. That's really awesome that you did that, Dan, especially when you had the ability to basically pull the loan and earn the business yourself. That was awesome that you're able to help them close on time. And that's another example, folks, of how Dan is such a stand-up loan officer and why when you're buying a home in the Stillwater, Oklahoma metro area, Perkins, Oklahoma, right south of Stillwater, you want to give Dan a call so his team and him can help you out with all that lending needs. We talked about application, we talked about review application, consultation, and then you'd mentioned turning in docs. So can you elaborate a little bit more on what that is during the process?
Well, after we get done interviewing with the customer and do the consultation, because we have our own form, and I've been doing this over 30 years, I know what questions to ask. And so we have our own form that we ask customers questions. And then from that form, we give them a list of documents of what we need. So you want me to lend you $150,000, $200,000, our company to lend you that money. Well, the better information and the more information I have, the better decision I can make. And so that's why I tell people the most important part is turning in the docs. And then we give a pre-approval. It's been reviewed already. Everything is reviewed. That's why we close in 21 days on average right now. People go, how do you do it so quick? Well, we get everything up front. And we find something, we usually find it up front.
And then once they go through these first 4 steps with you, Dan, then it's kind of on them to go out with the agents and find a home and get that home contracted. So because at this stage, until you have a contract, you can't do too much. Is that fair to say? Is that a correct order of business?
That is a correct order. The only thing is during that time, if they have a credit score below 660, we do something other lenders don't do, and it's called a what if. So if anybody has a credit score below 660, we spend our own money. We don't charge the customers for this. We go to the credit bureau and they give us a report on what we can do in the next 30 days, specifically to get their credit scores up, because most people understand the higher the credit score doesn't make that big of a difference in rate, but it makes a huge difference in the mortgage insurance. In fact, I had another one today. She has a 676 credit score. She qualifies for a loan, but we showed her how to raise it to 751, lowering her mortgage insurance from $189 a month to $31 a month. Her rate didn't go down that much, but her mortgage insurance went down $140.
Wow.
That's a lot of money. You can buy a lot more house with that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's almost someone's real estate taxes, depending on what size home they're buying. If it's Edmond, that's like a quarter of the real estate taxes. But some of these rural properties out in Payne County, that could be the whole real estate taxes for the year. That's amazing, Dan. So they turn in the docs and then they submit the contract. And then once they submit a contract, so let me backpedal real quick.
All right.
When they fill out the application with you, do the consultation, start looking for a home. At that point too, they do not need to open up any new lines of credit. No furniture loans, no new car loans, no new credit cards at Target or Walmart or anything like that. Like financially, they keep everything the same unless you guys have talked about paying down some debt, like you
Yeah,
talked about in the example of that one person. Like, do not open up new lines of credit. Is
right.
that a very important point to stress?
Yeah, as soon as somebody gets under contract, we send them a video from our series that talks about, and it's kind of a goofy video, but it makes the point about what you do and what you don't do. You don't quit your job. You don't change your line of business. You don't go out and charge up your credit card. You don't open a new credit card. You don't spend your money. you definitely balance your checkbook during that. So we have a goofy little video, 45-second video that once they're under contract, it automatically goes to both. If it's a husband, wife, both of them get it, and the agent. And we talk about follow the video because it could kill a deal, especially the biggest one, believe it or not, is switching jobs. I've had one case just this year alone,
Oh man.
right in the process, they switched jobs. They went from salary to commission.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I'm going to make all this extra money at this new company, which is not even the field of business you're in the first place.
Oh wow.
I said, so what do we? Yeah, but I'm gonna make. I got these people guaranteed me this money, and you just lost your house.
Man. Man. Yeah, that's a really good point you bring up too.
Yeah.
Do not change jobs. Just keep everything the same, guys.
Yep.
Everything the same on the when it comes to getting that money from Dan and his company. So when they submit the contract to your office,
Right.
correct me if I'm wrong. You're the expert in the room. Then you guys go over the disclosures and the appraisal authorization. Is
Yes.
that what happens after they submit the contract?
Yeah. Once they submit the contract, we set up a Zoom meeting or face to face. We go over any options. If they have more than one option, we go over them, all the options. We let them choose what rate is. We let them see about buying. Because right now, the big thing is buy the rate down, buy the rate down, get a lower rate. Buy really, buy the rate down now. And then next year, everybody's predicting rates to be lower, and then you're going to refinance next year. So all the money you spent on buying the rate down will be lost. So why would you do that? So we kind of educate them on exactly what you can do and cannot do. I mean, yesterday I had a perfect example with another lender had a rate that was 1% lower than mine, a full percent. And I was going, that seems weird. Send me the disclosures. And they had $8,400 in buy down to buy the rate down 1%, which saved them $81 a month. And they're going to refinance anyway next year.
Oh my
said,
gosh.
do you realize that $8,100 is gone?
Yeah.
Once you refinance, it's gone.
Yeah.
And I said, think about it. You're going to spend all this money to save $70 a month, divide that into it. And that was like 80 months or something. I don't have it in front of me. And they said, well, they didn't explain it, but they focused on the lower rate. I said, what's more important, the rate or the payment? So we did that and we showed the difference. And they said, that's stupid. I said, you and I talked about this. We can do it. In some cases, buying it down absolutely makes sense. But with today's market and with the fact that we anticipate rates to probably be better next year, that's money that could be wasted.
Yeah, it would take them 115 months of savings just to balance out on that.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous amount. And they're like, well, they didn't tell me that.
That's 10 years, Dan.
Yep.
10 years.
You're not going to be in that house. This is a first-time home buyer. They ain't going to be in that house that long.
Wow. Guys, if you haven't already made a decision, you've got to give Dan a call when it comes time to getting pre-approved to buy your Stillwater, Oklahoma metro area home, and of course your Perkins, Oklahoma home. So give him a call to fill out that loan application so he can start helping you on the financing side of things. So after the disclosures and the appraisal authorization, Dan, do you submit to underwriting then, or do you ask for additional docs if needed before submitting to underwriting? How does that? What is the next step after disclosures and appraisal authorization?
Well, that's where we really separate ourselves from other lenders. We don't wait. We get the docs. As soon as we get the docs and the disclosures are signed and the background checks come back clear, it goes into underwriting. We typically get our files 5 to 7 days after contract from underwriting. And if there's anything they find or anything, the appraisal might not even be done. Most cases, we get our file out of underwriting before the appraisal is done, always before title is done. And there is an issue, then we can say, hey, well, we've got this issue, we missed it, we can cancel the appraisal, we can cancel everything, but we'll do it in a week or less. Now, luckily so far, and I don't have any wood, I knock on it, we haven't had that happen. But I just got a good example. I got a file that's closing at the end of this month. I just got the contract last week. It's out of underwriting. I picked the phone call is going to go like this. Mr. and Ms. Client, if you want to close early, if we get the title and appraisal, we can't. And that's why we close so much quicker than everybody else, because our file is going to underwriting immediately once disclosures, background check, and you get me all the docs, it goes right into underwriting. We do not wait for title and appraisal. And a lot of other lenders will not do that. They'll wait for title and appraisal. That comes up 2 or 3 weeks, and then bang, just like the case this morning. 3 days from closing, they need to send it to underwriting.
That's horrible, guys. And Dan,
Yeah.
and on the real estate side of things, guys, I want to stress the importance of going to underwriting early.
Yes.
Because like Dan said, he had a customer 3 days before closing potentially not get their loan. Whereas if they just submitted, what is it called? Pending, do they say it's like pending the appraisal and title work, like you said?
Correct.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah, we get a conditional pre-approval.
Conditional.
We just got back, stated there's 3 things they wanted, and the 3 things were title, appraisal, and the customer needs to finalize their insurance.
Yeah.
They got an insurance quote, they just needed to finalize it. That's it, which that's not a big deal.
That's so awesome. And so when it comes out of underwriting, occasionally something might pop up, and that's called a condition. So you've got to work with Dan and his team to clear the condition. Is that sort of the next step if it comes up?
Yes. If there's any conditions and anything, immediately my team notifies me. They say, hey, Dan, we got something we missed. Luckily, knock on wood, hasn't happened. It doesn't happen often. We catch it. I'm very proud of my team. My team is very good, very thorough. Very good. And they're experienced team. In fact, my number 1 assistant actually lives in Perkins, Oklahoma. And she's alumni of Perkins, Oklahoma. We love that market. Love that Stillwater and Perkins market.
Does she go to Ralph's ever? The butcher there in town?
I don't know. I know she just lives there. She was a stud all-state athlete there in high school, and everybody knows her, and she just loves Perkins. So
that is awesome. That is so awesome. So if any conditions come up, and once title's in, once appraisal's in, and all that other stuff, then you submit it all again for the final underwriting approval. Is that correct? And
that is correct. And since we already got initial approval, our final underwriting approval usually just takes a few hours.
Wow.
We already got initial approval.
Not 2 days.
No. If it goes 24 hours, I'll be surprised.
Guys, that's really important too, because a lot of the companies, a lot of the bigger companies, everyone's entitled to run their business how they want. Yeah. But some of these bigger banks, they've got minimum 24-hour turnaround times or 48-hour turnaround times when everything is submitted. So you may not know for another 2 days. And Dan just told us he could usually get an answer in a couple hours.
No, yeah, because that's all I got to do is review title and appraisal.
Guys,
in most cases, that's it.
Not having minimum turnaround time is huge for your guys' home purchase. That's why we love having Dan on the channel giving us this info. And so once it comes back, once you submitted everything for final underwriting review, is that when they give you what's called the clear to close on the loan side?
What happens basically, and that's where a lot of people don't quite understand how that works. Once we get final approval, then we have to submit everything in for clear to close. And what you have to do on clear to close is that's when you have to coordinate with the title company, the agents, because a lot of cases, the real estate agents, our real estate partners might not submit the invoices for the termite, the inspection, and if there's anything TRR or anything that has to be done, we then have to call. We gathered all that stuff together. Once we have all that, we are clear to close. We set our final. So that's why clear to close sometimes takes a little longer. So we have to, hey, you need this.
Dan's talking about other real estate agents, not the ones I work with, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so you know, he's talking about other people. If you're working with us, we've already emailed it to his office like 3 or 4 times because we
Well,
just attach all the attachments on every communication. That way it's always there.
I
So,
wish all agents were like that, because that's the hardest thing to explain to a customer. What are you waiting on? You're a real estate agent.
yeah. Yeah. Well, it's definitely an industry where 13% of the people are doing 90% of the business, Dan. And
Yeah,
I tell people that all the time. So your
yeah,
agent matters just like your loan officer matters.
absolutely. Get me that as soon as that stuff comes in. And any issues, get that stuff to the title company. Don't send me your TRR, by the way. Don't ever send your lender your TRR. Please do not.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a can of worms for sure. So once
Absolutely.
you have the clear to close,
So
that
close.
means everything's been coordinated. And now on the loan side of things, you're waiting for the closing to happen and all the docs get signed. Would that be safe to say is the next step?
Yep. Set the closing. I like to attend as many closings as I can. People go, why do you attend closings? You're the only lender that does. Well, it's really simple. That's not the job of the title company to go over all the documents. That's our job. And honestly, I'd rather be there every chance I can. I make them. Why? If there's any questions, I'd rather explain it to them. You never usually know questions, but why not celebrate, go over there. If there is a question, you're there to answer them. And the title company doesn't, have to sit there. Well, I think this is what it means. Nah, we got it handled.
That's true. And then
Mhm.
even once all the docs are signed, then we still have to submit all those docs to the underwriter one more time. Is that
Nope,
correct? I want to make sure
that's
I'm putting out the right
absolutely
info.
incorrect with us. We are a table
Okay.
funder. Once you got the docs, sign, seal, deliver, close the thing, and don't wait for funding numbers. Nothing has to be resubmitted, because we are table funder. Just fund the thing.
Wow. Okay. So table funded. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah,
So those are the more I need to adjust those, but those are more like the 13 steps in getting a
right.
loan from start to finish.
Correct.
This is such an in-depth, informative guide.
Mhm.
The great thing about this guide, guys, is it's out there forever. You're able
Yeah,
to pause the video, rewind it, watch it again. If you've got
yeah.
questions on anything loan-wise that come up, you want to reach out to Dan. And the number I've got, Dan, is 405-822-0141. Is that the best number?
That's my cell phone. If you don't get me, because when I'm with people or in meetings, I turn my phone off. Send me a text. I will return your call.
Yes, and you can handle business via voicemail too, right, Dan? So
Oh,
if they
yes,
if they
absolutely.
if they leave a voicemail and Dan
Yeah.
gets it, he can listen to it and respond adequately, guys. Because don't just hang up and because sometimes with all the spam going on nowadays, I don't get a chance to return all my calls, Dan,
Yeah.
because there's just so many spam calls. So wow, this was an amazing, very thorough, very complete step-by-step guide on getting a home loan for the Perkins, Oklahoma metro area. And guys, don't forget to subscribe to our channels. Follow us if you're watching us on Facebook. You guys will have the little follow link. Follow us there. Follow us on LinkedIn. If we're not friends there, connect with us online so we can help educate you through the real estate process and the loan process in the Stillwater, Oklahoma metro area. And then, Dan, was there another state that your company operates?
Well, as a whole, our company operates in 46 states. So,
46 states, guys. So if you're
yeah,
watching this somewhere else, there's a great chance Dan's got you covered.
absolutely. There's only 4 states that we don't operate in. Probably
That
won't
is
in them
awesome.
either.
All right, guys, this has been a great experience, great video. Guys, we'll see you in about 2 weeks with more lender information in another area in the Stillwater, Oklahoma metro area. But as of right now, that's all I've got, Dan. You do have any going out questions or parting statements that people need to be aware of?
No, just stay warm. I mean, this is Oklahoma weather. It's kind of like interest rates, up, down, up, down. Hey.
You get to wear all your wardrobe in one day.
Yeah, I know.
All right,
No,
guys.
thank you very much. Appreciate you, Josh.
Thank you too, sir. Subscribe, like, and share, and we'll see you guys on the next video.
Go Pokes.